In today's video, we're going to be going over the tropics where we still have two tropical storms out there to speak of. We also have the upcoming pattern where there is some storm systems moving across the nation and some big temperature changes on the way as we expect a warm up for a time. And then the most massive Arctic blast of the season so far following that we need to talk about today. Now, before we get into things, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and the pinned comment down below where we do early access to all of our monthly and seasonal forecasts. We also do weekly consulting calls and other consulting services within our community, so be sure to check it out today in the pinned comment and description down below. It's only $5 a month. Let's get into things, and as you can see, this is Tropical Storm Felipe. Now expected to move southward and then take a U-turn and turn basically directly northward. A very, very interesting track and turn of events here within this storm. Very interesting to say the least. It is expected to remain at tropical storm status throughout its entire track here. So we do expect this one to be one that we have to talk about for a long time to come. Let's just go ahead and move on and talk about our next system here, Tropical Storm Rena. This one is expected to remain at tropical storm status until about Sunday, where we'll cross over into tropical depression status before eventually reaching post-tropical cyclone status here by Tuesday. So we do expect a lot of changes, and really this one is expected to downgrade consistently through its track. It's currently at 45 miles per hour. It is expected to hover around there before dropping off pretty significantly for the early portion of next week. Now, as we take a look at the entire tropics, you can see we don't really expect much of anything, really. Felipe, Rena, that's it. We don't expect much further development than that, at least as of today. We could see some new systems pop up here soon, but for now, that is what we're taking a look at. Let's keep going here. And as you can see, we're just going to skip this afternoon. It is pretty late in the day, but by tomorrow afternoon, we do have a low pressure system here offshore of New England, bringing some pretty significant rainfall still for the northeast and southern New England, where they've had very, very significant flooding as just record-breaking rainfall has occurred for these areas. Just really, really severe rainfall for New York, New Jersey, and southern New England. Now, for the southeast, we do see Florida involved here in some very, very heavy rainfall. Jacksonville southward, basically, there is just thunderstorms around in general. We do have a 999 millibar low pressure center over Utah there, and this is creating a pretty far-stretching rainfall event here from California up through Nevada into the northwest and even into the northern Rockies here. As you can see, very significant area of heavier rainfall. And then we can see for some of the four corner states like Colorado, New Mexico, and even stretching eastward towards Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, we do see quite a bit of rainfall in these areas as well. Now, Sunday, October 1st here, we can see that there is also some pretty substantial rainfall still occurring throughout a lot of the west. The east is much quieter, but as we take it from the four corner states back down through the southwest and then back up around all the way into the northern Rockies, you can see rainfall and snowfall depending on location, and especially depending on elevation there, still associated with this low that is now located in between Wyoming and Nebraska. Let's keep going, and by the time we reach Monday, October 2nd here, what we end up seeing is pretty substantial rainfall here for a lot of the south central United States, all the way up through the northwest here. As you can see, there is some pretty far-stretching heavy rainfall and even snowfall for the higher elevations. Let's keep going, and by the time we reach Tuesday, October 3rd here, what we see is that there is still some activity there in the northwest and the Rockies, and this does include some snowfall there in the higher elevations for areas like Utah, Wyoming, Colorado there. But we do have heavier rainfall as you head further eastward, perhaps even severe weather, as the jet stream is doing almost a perfect just S-curve here. It's a little bit tilted, as you can see, but we have rising warm air out to the east of a lot of this storminess, and we have sinking cold air right behind it. This is classic stuff and oftentimes creates some pretty potent thunderstorms in between. So I would not be surprised if we're seeing some of that type of activity from Texas all the way through the plains and into the northern plains and upper Midwest. That is the look that we're taking a look at there for Tuesday, October 3rd. Wednesday, October 4th here, what we see is a 998 Millibar low pressure center, relatively strong there for Minnesota. This is featuring some very heavy thunderstorms again, still to the south of it. So for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, into Wisconsin, we have very substantial thunderstorm activity and then some heavier showers around here for the northern plains into the southern regions there of Canada. For Tuesday, or better yet, Thursday the 5th here, what we see is a 989 millibar low pressure center still featuring this cold front underneath and probably still featuring some pretty strong thunderstorms along it as it's moving eastward. For Friday here, what we end up seeing is a lot of showery activity moving in behind all of this. So for the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Great Lakes, we see some of that. Still some thunderstorms along this cold front stretching through Ohio, Kentucky, and then some isolated areas for the deeper south. And then we have a lot of showers and thunderstorms moving up the east coast here. And this is a pretty interesting situation as we see this rising warm air and rising area of humid air featuring perhaps thunderstorms and showers along it up the east coast. Saturday, October 7th, we see that our original low is still over Canada and the Great Lakes there. And then we have a bit of a nor'easter, 997 here. This is the primary low. And then we have just overall, as a result of this, a lot of precipitation for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast there. And a pretty significant trough there in the east. And the jet stream is doing this. So it's diving southward there throughout the plains, the upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes now. And as we keep going towards Sunday, October 8th there, what we see is still this very potent area of Arctic air set up over the east with minimal precipitation at this point. And then for Monday, a lot quieter. The total precipitation here, as we just take a look at some above average areas we see over the Northeast, there is plenty of above average precipitation. Also for the northern plains, upper Midwest, and into the Great Lakes, we see above average precipitation. And then for a lot of areas there in the Four Corner States and Southern Plains, we're seeing plenty of that above average precipitation. Let's take a look at this temperature pattern. We do see that warm up sets up for next week. And what we see is a classic negative PNA pattern. We see cooler air along the western coast there of basically all of North America. And this creates rising warm air throughout a lot of the eastern regions of North America, as you can see. Now, as we just move on from this, we see this Arctic blast moving in starting Saturday, October 7th, and into Sunday, Monday even. What we see is a very significant cold air mass set up over the east. And this is stretching all the way into the 9th, Monday, for the end of the model run. And we see the opposite along the western seaboard of North America. We see a very positive PNA. So this is very supportive of this type of cold air mass moving in. And sure enough, that is what we see on this model run. Let's take a look at the long-range models, and look, we see this same thing, the 8th through the 15th, cooler air in the east, warmer air in the west here, so this positive PNA supporting cold air moving down. I want to see how long this lasts on the long-range models. This is going to be pretty important. And we see cooler air in the east all the way through November, and then eventually for portions of November, the 6th through the 13th in particular, here's what this model is saying. We do see a southeast ridge start to move up some warm air into the east once again, and some cooler air developing along the west, which could be a re-ignition there of that negative PNA pattern. So there is some interesting things going on overall that we're going to have to track, and the temperature pattern looks very up and down here, as you can tell. Anyway, be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day just like this. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.